My Brother Sam is Dead by James Lincoln Collier. Chapter 6. My biggest problem was getting to see Mr. Heron. If Father saw me talking to him, he'd be suspicious. And if he found out that it was me who started the conversation, he'd know right away what it was all about. But luckily, 2 days later, Mr. Heron came into the tavern to buy a small keg of rum. My father wasn't around, and Mother said, "Tim, we'll bring it right over, Mr. Heron." So I slung the keg of rum over my shoulder and followed Mr. Heron up the road to his house, which was only a couple 100 yards away from the tavern. We went around to the back, and I carried the keg into the kitchen and set it up on the rack. He reached into his pocket and handed me a penny. "Thank you, sir," I said. "Have you thought any more about studying surveying with me someday?" "Well, I haven't, sir, but I was thinking, though, that I might like to earn some money at that job you mentioned before." "Aha," he said. "Your father changed his mind, did he?" "Yes, sir," I said. "He said it would be all right, so long as he didn't know anything about it. If I just went and didn't tell him anything, he said he wouldn't object." Mr. Heron put his hand on my arm and gave me a little squeeze. "That's a lie, isn't it, Timmy?" I got hot and blushed. "I guess so, sir." He let go of my arm. "Your father doesn't change his mind very often, nor very easily." I felt stupid and looked down at the ground. "Yes, sir," I said. "I'd like to go, though. Aren't we supposed to be loyal to the king?" He stroked his chin. "Not everybody thinks so. I do, though. I didn't have any opinion either way, but I thought it would help if he believed that I was a strong loyalist." He smiled a kind of funny smile. "You've got your brother's spirit, haven't you?" Being compared with Sam made me feel good. "I'll be brave as he is," I said. "I believe it," he said. "Suppose I did let you run some errands for me. What would you tell your father?" "I'd tell him I was shad fishing." "And come home with no fish?" "I'd tell him they weren't running or something. You can't always expect to catch something." He rubbed his forehead, thinking. "All right. If you come up early tomorrow morning, I'll have something for you to do, to earn a shilling or so." So that night I asked Father if I could go fishing again, and he said yes. I felt sort of bad about it. It was lying, and lying was a sin, and so was going against your father. And even if it hadn't been a sin, I would have felt badly about it, because Father trusted me, and I was being dishonorable. But I wanted some glory, too. Much to be honorable, so Wednesday morning I got up way before the sun, when it was just beginning to get light, took my fishing line and hooks to make my excuse hold up, and walked down to Mr. Heron's house. I was lucky. It was a good day. That time of year, it could easily have been pouring rain and cold, but as the sun came up, there were only streaks of clouds in the sky. The birds were singing, and the wildflowers along the roadside were bright and gay. I felt excited in a good way, and as I walked along to Mr. Heron's, I began to whistle Yankee Doodle before I remembered that I ought to keep quiet so people would notice where I was going. When I got to Mr. Heron's house, I went around back to the kitchen door and started to knock, but I hardly got my fist up when the door jerked open, and Mr. Heron grabbed me by the arm and pulled me in. We walked down a hall and into his study. It seemed awfully rich to me. There was a little stove there with a few coals glowing, and a desk piled high with papers, and a carpet on the floor, and some chest of drawers. He sat down at the desk, wrote something out on a piece of paper, and sealed it up. "Timothy, you'll have to move quickly. This message has to go to Fairfield. It will take you at least 5 hours to walk down there and 5 to walk back, and you'll have to be home before dark in order not to raise suspicions." "Have you ever been to Fairfield?" "A couple of times," I said, "with Father and Sam to get rum." "Then you know where the dock is. Now listen carefully. Just before you get to the dock, there's a road off to the left. Down the road about a mile, there's a house with white siding and green trim. Knock there. Ask for Mr. Burr and give him this letter. I'll give you a shilling, right? Now repeat it back. I did so. Then I tucked the letter down inside my shirt and left, slipping out the back way and through his pasture before I cut back onto the road. The sun was now up and it was rising over the meadowland to the east. I judged it to be about 7 o'clock. The sun wouldn't go down again until around 7 at night, which gave me 12 hours. Plenty of time if I walked along swiftly. In fact, if everything went well, I could easily be back by the middle of the afternoon, which might even give me some time to catch a few shad to show father. I hid the fishing tackle behind a stone wall, just in case. I moved at a brisk pace. Despite the sun, the air was morning cool and fresh. It was nice weather for walking, and I felt excited, not scared. I was worried about dropping the letter, though, and I kept tucking it in to make sure that it hadn't fallen out of my shirt. After a while, I came to a place where the road from the center runs into Fairfield Road. I stopped for a minute to rest and to see if I couldn't find a better way to stow the letter so it would be safe. I was trying to find a way to hitch it under my belt when I heard somebody shout. I looked up. Betsy Reed was coming down the road from the center. "Hello, Tim," she said. "Hello." She came up to me. "What are you doing here? What's that?" Hastily, I shoved the letter back into my shirt. "Nothing," I said. "Well, it isn't nothing," she said. "It's a letter." She smiled. "You've got a girlfriend." "No," I said. "I have to go. I'm kind of in a hurry." "I'll walk with you," she said. "Where are you going?" It made me nervous having her walk along with me. She wasn't suspicious of anything, and I didn't think she would go down to the tavern and tell father she'd seen me. But if she should happen accidentally to bump into him, she might say something. "I'm going fishing," I said. "Fishing? On the Fairfield Road? There are shads in the mill stream." "Well, you're going in the wrong direction," she said. "Oh, well, I know that. I was up there already, but there weren't any shad, so I'm going someplace else now." I was blushing from telling so many lies. Lying is a sin. "Don't you want to know where I'm going?" she said. "Sure," I said. "I'm going down to Horseneck." "Guess what doing?" It was better to have her talk than me because it saved me lying. "I don't know, shopping for cloth?" "Guess again." Horseneck was down on Long Island Sound too, but much further south than Fairfield. I couldn't figure out what she might be doing there. "Visiting your cousins?" "I don't have any cousins down there." "What then?" "Seeing Sam," she said. I stopped dead in the road. "Sam? Is he in Horseneck?" "I shouldn't tell you that. You're a Tory. Anyway, he's not there anymore. They've gone someplace else." We weren't walking along anymore, but facing each other. I was all excited. "How do you know Sam's there?" "Mr. Heron told me." "Mr. Heron? How does he know? He's a Tory." She frowned. "Well, I know that, but he said that Sam was there with the commissary officer, scouting for beef." Didn't make any sense. Mr. Heron was supposed to be a Tory. He wasn't supposed to know where American commissary officers were. Suddenly I realized I was wasting time. "Where is he now?" "I won't tell you. You're a Tory." "That's not fair, Betsy. He's my brother." "God, Tim, you tried to shoot him." I blushed. "Is Sam all right?" "Yes, he was in battle. I guess I better not tell you about it." "You can tell me if it already happened, can't you?" "I better not," she said. "Listen," I said, "I better get going." We started walking. "Where are you off to in such a rush?" she said. "If you won't tell me anything, I won't tell you either." I thought that was a pretty smart answer. It was like one of Sam's telling points. "All right, sulk," she said. "Besides, I know you're carrying a love letter for somebody." "You've just got love on your mind because of Sam," I said. Something was puzzling me. "Betsy, how come Mr. Heron didn't tell me about Sam this morning?" "Because you're a Tory." "But so is he," I said. She stopped. "What were you seeing Mr. Heron about this morning?" I'd realized I had made a bad mistake. Oh, I just happened to go by his house this morning, and he was there. There? Where? He was standing in the yard. Doing what? She asked. How do I know what he was doing? He wouldn't have been standing. The letter. Tim, you're lying. The letter. He gave you the letter to carry. Tim, where are you going with that letter? She was pretty excited and kind of bouncing around in front of me. I have to go, Betsy. She jumped in my way. Oh, no, you don't. Not until you tell me about the letter. She was bigger than me, but not by much, and I figured that since I was a boy, I could break away from her and run if she tried to stop me. That's a private letter, I said. I can't tell you about it. Oh, no, Tim, she shouted. Give me that letter. No, I said. I tried to duck past her, but she jumped in front of me again. Tim, she screamed, you know what's in that letter? A spy report on Sam. That shocked me. It can't be. Why would Mr. Heron make a spy report on Sam? Not on just Sam. Can't you see? He found out about Sam and the commissary officer buying beef, and now he's sending news to the lobsterbacks so they'll know where to find them and kill them and steal the cows. Give me that letter. She snatched at my shirt, but I ducked back. Don't, Betsy. It's Mr. Heron's. Tim, you're going to get Sam killed. They'll set up an ambush for them and kill them all. No, no, I said. It's true, Tim. Figure it out. You can't deliver that letter. I have to, I said. She stood in front of me, kind of begging. Tim, let's open it and see. If there's nothing important in it, then you can deliver it. I can't break the seal, Betsy. It's Mr. Heron's letter. I could be put in jail for that. Tim, it's your brother they're going to kill. Just throw the letter away and say you lost it. I didn't know what to do. I felt awful, sick and scared. I didn't say anything. Tim, give me that letter. Betsy. Then she jumped me. She caught me completely by surprise. She just leaped onto me, and I fell backwards, and she was lying on top of me, trying to wrestle her hands down inside of my shirt. God damn you, Betsy, I shouted. I grabbed her by her hair and tried to pull her head back, but she jerked it away from me. I began kicking around with my feet, trying to catch her someplace where it would hurt, but she kept wiggling from side to side on top of me, and I couldn't get in a good kick. I hit her in the back, but in that position, I couldn't get much force. Get off me, Betsy. Not until I get that letter, she said. She jerked at my shirt, trying to pull it up. I grabbed at her hands and twisted my body underneath her to turn over so I would be on top, but she pushed her whole weight down on me, grunting. So I slammed her as hard as I could on the side of the head. You little bastard, she shouted. She let go of my shirt with one hand and slapped me as hard as she could across my face. My nose went numb and my eyes stung and tears began to come. Damn you, I shouted. I let go of her hand when she was clutching my shirt and grabbed her by the shoulders, trying to push her off me. She jerked my shirt up, grabbed the letter, and jumped up to her feet. Without rising, I kicked out with my feet at her ankles. I got in a good one. She stumbled, but she didn't fall. By the time I got up, she was running down the Fairfield Road as hard as she could, opening the letter as she went. I started to run after her, and then she flung the letter over her shoulder onto the road and disappeared out of sight around the next bend. I ran up to the letter and picked it up. It was rumpled and dirty. All it said was, if this message is received, we will know that the messenger is reliable.